dignitaries on the dais, and friends, I'm the last speaker before tea. So I think I should be crisp because I can see all of you warming up for the other sessions that I have to follow with great people here to speak to you. But I must tell you, I paid very careful attention to all that was said. I'm in truth, in fact, an old boy of Coimbatore, PSGR Nursery School, St. Francis Convent, Staines High School, and then my father left Staines Fertilizers to retire and I moved on into Chennai. So every time I come back to Coimbatore, it brings great memories of the times I wandered from Staines School all the way into Racecourse Road with a catapult in my hand, looking for the traditional Wonan with a gang of 4 others who had similar catapults. In fact, the exciting thing was was not the classes that we attended in school, but it was more about how we could walk back, looking for that lost Wonan, which you will find on some tree somewhere, which you can then join together and hunt down. Those are great times, and I think childhood is something that you always cherish, and I'm happy I spent it in Coimbatore. Friends, I think this point in time, you are sitting on a very exciting set of things that are happening, and I think it's all going a bit too fast for you. In June, you will host the World Classical Tamil Conference, and all of us are trying to pitch in to see that this works well. The Honorable Chief Minister himself is reviewing the work on a daily basis. So a lot of things that you mentioned here, I believe, will actually kickstart because of this whole event and the attention that the city is getting. A lot of underground cabling work like no other place in the state is actually taking place here on the part of the electricity board. I also double up as the energy secretary. So maybe I should have a small punchline on power before I wind up. But this is an exciting time. This is really an exciting time. And one of the things that I always think about Coimbatore is that this whole belt, the western belt of the state, is really why we are where we are. Innovation has always been the strength of Coimbatore and its areas in the region here. Some years ago, maybe 10, 12 years ago, I was additional collector of Erode, and I still remember some of the schemes that worked in these districts would not click in other places simply because the people were in a great place. Let me say that. Let me mention that. And I just want to quickly run through a few things and then get back to my seat. Talking about innovation, and the World Classical Tamil Conference, we discussed Wikipedia. There are only about 22,000 articles in Tamil, as compared to lakhs together in Spanish, in French, in English. Just 22,000 odd articles. You see how to work this out, and you have the World Classical Tamil Conference coming, and you think of good kind of competitions, what kind of applications to develop. And then we said, why don't have a good Wikipedia competition? So that's what we're going to launch in the course of the next week. We've already announced it in several places. But for a period of 1 month, college students, irrespective of the university background that they are from, it could be engineering, it could be general, veterinary, law, sports, whatever, will be participating in a one-of-its-kind wiki contest in Tamil. So we are hoping that out of this entire effort, you would get something like about 30,000, 40,000 articles of wiki standard, which will be uploaded on the net, and which will then become another way in which we promote our state, promote our language, and make it appealing to the people outside. You see, this again it was possible because of a lot of people coming together, and now we have people networked all over the world who are following this and who are participating in planning with us and who are going to be part of the entire competition. Let me move on. Coimbatore again somehow seems to be the chosen one, like I mentioned. Out of 5 districts that were chosen to be called E-districts in the first phase, Coimbatore was one of the 5. Now what does this mean? This simply means that the district administration, down to the RDO, down to the Taluk, Revenue Inspector, VAO, the Block Development Office, the Social Welfare side, and a host of other services would be made e-enabled. there would be e-services made available to the public who can then access these. Of course, maybe not everything online. Here and there, where it is appropriate, it would be made transactional and the whole thing would be referred to as an e-service. Now, we are just hardly a few weeks away from piloting this in these 5 districts. I'm happy to say the hardware has arrived, hardware is in place, the software is in the last stages of testing, and we are really looking at this concept because if it clicks in these 5 districts, we are going to look at the possibility of rolling it out to the entire state. So again, we are hoping, because everything works very well in Coimbatore, this is the great place and it's perhaps the only urbanized district that we have chosen. The other 4 districts are predominantly rural, but this district has got a predominant urban population, and we are hoping that this clicks here. Then we are also looking at tier 2 cities. I think we had a good session from Joginder Singh, who also made a good pitch for Ford, and I'm just thinking of the tier 2 cities and the problems that big IT companies actually face. In the bigger cities, there's huge attrition. But in the tier 2 cities, someone who chooses to go and settle down there discovers he likes the place, the whole place grows on him and he settles down. Now, Coimbatore is one such place. And we're looking at Trichy. In fact, in Trichy, in our IT park, almost all the plots have been taken. That's the kind of demand that we have had there. Good IT companies who are setting up base in Trichy. We've got an IT park going at Madurai, one at Tirunelveli, one coming up at Hosur, another one at Salem. And in all these places, we are hoping to touch on that sentiment factor where an entrepreneur or people who prefer to go back home and work from closer to where the, on the blossoming of those IT companies. And we are at an advanced stage in most of these IT parks, particularly the one here, the one at, the one at Trichy and Madurai and Tirunelveli. A lot of work is going on in these places. And just so that, I want to put Mr. Ashok Bhaktavachalam at ease, because he himself is promoting an IT park. And I want to be very honest about this. See, we in government are not here to promote government IT parks. And I want to be very open and very categorical about it. This is to kind of support the entire effort by the private sector that we got involved in these IT parks. But now we see ourselves as promoting the private IT parks as well. So when we have the opportunity to meet with people, and it's many delegations which are coming in, we are giving them the opportunity to choose from a private sector IT park, from the IT park promoted by ELCOT, or even from the floor space that is already available. In Chennai alone, we have about 26 lakh floor space of new IT buildings which are waiting to be filled and now have started being occupied, getting to be occupied. So I want to assure the private sector here. In fact, next week we are meeting with a whole lot of people from the different levels in terms of IT firms, and we will be making a hard pitch for Tamil Nadu, and we are looking at the possibility of promoting your interests as well. And another factor that I want to mention here is that when we got started, we actually were looking only at the big IT companies. But as we went along, we began to realize that we should not focus only on the big IT companies. We need to be proactive about getting the big IT companies on board. We also need to be proactive about getting the medium and small enterprises on board. Because the demand in the IT sector is so huge and so vast that if you tend to slip onto one side, you would be actually harming the other side. Programs and plans, so earlier thinking of 30 acres and 40 acres in one IT park to one IT company, we have come down to as much as just 1 acre to an IT company which wants to take it up and set up shop in that IT SEZ. And this is actually working out very well, because on one acre, I think you get something like about 18,000 square feet. 40,000. Dr. Santosh corrects me. On just 1 acre, you can have 40,000 square feet of built-up space, which is very good. I mean, for a medium or a small enterprise, that's extremely good. So we've started carving out our IT parks to make sure that the medium and small enterprises are also very much there. And I want to mention this, the demand is huge. Dr. Santosh, my colleague, made out a list of all the departments which are going in. I don't want to get into another prolonged discussion on that because he's already mentioned a lot. But I want to mention this, since there are small applications and not all of them are big, not all of them are small. If you look at the what the electricity board is doing right now, they are at the process in the final stages of finalizing a tender where it's extremely big. It's a 400 crore tender. An IT company has to marry an energy company, and it's a very complicated process because the process involved is very complicated. So you need to have big IT companies, appropriate consultants on board there, because you're dealing with a very, very complex kind of a solution for the electricity board. In fact, we are targeting 110 cities, and we've already done substantial amount of ring fencing on these cities, making the whole thing down to the local distribution level, to the local distribution transformers, getting it IT enabled, so that you will have lesser line loss and you will have more efficiency. You would be able to see where your capacities need to be enhanced, and you'll have a lot of electricity. So this is on the one side. But on the other side, you take something like the agriculture department application that we are developing. That is being done by a medium or a small. What would you classify that, Santosh? Okay, you would classify that company as a medium to small. And that's exciting as well. Very simple application. What is it doing? Fertilizer, stock, seed stock, soil, and the basics that any farmer, basic kind of information and transactional kind of approach that he would like to have with regard to these aspects are being developed by a company. And it's going very well. The department is actually taking a lead role, the agriculture department. One of the good things that is happening in our state application, and the IT department, which is us, works as a facilitator. We are simply facilitating these departments because that's the only way you're going to get an application which is appropriate and which is not cosmetic. So this is interesting. At the end of the day, what we want to happen is that every real farmer would be sent to him by an SMS just to keep him alerted. It will be commodity based, and it will also be individual, the place based. So if in, let's say, Satyamangalam block, you have a lot of paddy farmers and you want to send some information only to the paddy farmers, you can tell them what kind of fertilizer is there, what kind of seed is available there, what kind of pesticides are there, and what kind of pests are currently on the market. We're trying to give appropriate information to the agriculturist so that he then has something appropriate for his need